Good morning. My name is Adam, and I'm on a quest to be the most prolific reviewer of all time. It's currently a lovely Sunday morning. It's snowing, drinking some coffee, so the world's not bad, I would say. I started watching last night, but I didn't finish it because I fell asleep, and that's not because of the movie, it's just because I'm an old man. I started watching The Mummy 1999, that version of that story. And I have a lot of thoughts about it. I finished watching it just now. I have a lot of thoughts about it um, because this is a movie which is considered to be by some like the defining movie of their generation. Like it's a favorite of millions of people. But I think I actually watched this in the cinema and I didn't enjoy it. Uh, And rewatching it now, oh, what is it like? Not 20, like 27 years later. It feels very different than when I watched it then. Because I think when I watched it then, movies were just like that, right? Big budget movies were just like that. And CGI was new and it was something that you could be blown away by, and that part of the movie, like I don't remember my thoughts about the movie when I watched it in the cinema 27 years ago, but I think like the CGI probably would have been impressive back then. Some of it is still impressive today, but I think that my big takeaway is I think it's a cliche to say that they don't make movies like this anymore. And clearly they don't make movies like they made when Betty Davis was a star, or, when Kurosawa was directing his films. They don't make films like that. And that's a good thing because, you want change, you want innovation, but we have lost the ability to make a fun movie, you know? And like Hollywood still has it in its DNA to make fun movies. Like surprisingly, Nuremberg, the movie that came out last year with Rami Malek and Russell Crowe, is a fun movie. I mean, it's a fun movie because it's cinematic and it has all of the language of fun action cinema, kind of. And that's what this does. The plot is kind of crazy. Basically, it stars, if you don't know, it stars Brandon Frasier and Rachel Weiss, or Weiss, I'm not sure how to pronounce her name. Um, and the plot is basically, it starts in ancient Egypt, but the plot happens in the Egypt of the 1930s, where there is this Egyptologist family, sort of, and they're half European, half Egyptian, and they it's weird that they speak their mother was Egyptian, but they speak English all of the time and they look super white, but anyway, that's not the that's not the point of the review. But anyway, they one her there's a brother and a sister, and like you don't really see positive brother sister relationships depicted much in movies, but this is one. I mean, it's not perfect, but they have a good relationship, I would say. But anyway, the brother is a guy who steals a lot of stuff and tries to sell it for money, and the sister is trying to be a legitimate Egyptologist, and they get word from this random criminal that there is a this lost Egyptian city which is supposed to be a myth, and in this city there's this book of Amun Ra, which is this big treasure that they want to find. And so they go to this city, and there's like this trope of like two different teams trying to get to the treasure first. And they get there, and mysterious things start to happen, and basically they unleash Imhotep. And this is I think where the movie actually is elevated, because it's not a remake of the 1930s version of The Mummy. The story is completely original, but it's based obviously on Egyptian myth. So the Imhotep is this priest who is in love with the mistress of the pharaoh, and he is discovered, so he is buried and cursed, and the mistress is also killed. So they unleash like the not really modern, but the characters from 1930 or whatever, the 30s, they release this ancient curse upon the world, and they have to stop it. And it's funny because, well, like, it's an enjoyable movie, and I don't think that they thought about, like, I think they thought a lot about the story of Imhotep, but I don't think that they thought a lot about, like, the modern characters, because the modern characters, I mean, they're not modern, but the more modern characters are actually the villains of the story, because they the two brother and sister are completely removed from their cultural identity, so they just view it from this Western lens. Maybe not Western lens. They view it from this materialistic lens. Like, the lady is very materialistic, and she just wants glory, academic glory, and the guy just wants money. Um, and they unleash this curse upon the world. And I don't think that the movie is trying to say anything big about materialism, but it it hints at it. So that's interesting. And there's a character called Benji who basically is betraying O'Connor, who is the character played by Brendan Fraser, all through the movie. And that's all another character you don't see as often. Just this, like, weak guy who has morals of a rat, and he is like, he's there for comedic purposes 100%, and of course he gets his punishment in the end. So, like, I think that they really don't make movies like this anymore. Is it like, I can see if you saw this movie at a certain age that you would fall in love with it. Like, I saw Howard the Duck when I was like 6 or 7, and I loved the movie. So I don't think that this movie is as bad as Howard the Duck, and I still love Howard the Duck. But I think, like, a lot of the a lot of the nostalgia that people have is connected to when they saw it. Although it's not a bad movie, it's actually quite an enjoyable movie. And I think Brendan Fraser does a great job as O'Connell, and Weiss does a good job as Evelyn, I guess her name is, the character, the Egyptologist. And the I think maybe, I don't know, but Brendan Fraser was cast because he was basically the cheapest option. They wanted originally Tom Cruise and I think Brad Pitt and some other people who were really famous at the time, but the schedules didn't interact, or they were asking too much money. And Rachel Weisz, I think, was chosen because she 100% looks like a film star from the 1930s. So she has that whole aesthetic. They even did her eyebrows in like a Betty Davis style, which is really, really thin and unnatural looking for me. So, of course, the 90s, late 90s also had that sort of style. So it kind of like, maybe it was just the style that she was wearing at the time. Um, yeah, so they both do good jobs with that, and I think that I mentioned the special effects before. It's actually, so how do this does the CGI hold up? Yes and no. Some parts it works really well, like the face and the sand and the the walls of sand moving around. They work really well. But there's this part where the spirit of I forget the name of Imhotep's love interest, but the spirit of his love interest, you know, comes up from the underworld, and it's supposed to be this kind of mystic water kind of thing, and it looks really really quite dated and not really authentic. But they have this mixture of practical effects and CGI effects, and the practical effects for the most part look really really good. And this is going to sound crazy, but the mummy, so basically Imhotep is buried and killed with his priests because he is like high priest of Egypt. So his priests come back as mummies, and the sounds they make are just so cute. It's like very cute, and they're not that scary. They're kind of dealt with as decaying bodies from thousands of years ago would be dealt with by people who have, modern and functioning muscles. But yeah, that's really those effects are really good. And then generally, I'm a pro practical effect versus CG effect guy, because I think usually the practical effects always look better. And this practical effect that I'm going to mention doesn't look bad or anything, but one thing that I always think is that practical effects look more natural, and it doesn't look natural. There's a part where they're at the very end, they're leaving this cursed city, and it's collapsing because of booby traps and stuff, and a pillar falls, like a big stone pillar falls, and when it hits the sand, it doesn't have the weight of what the pillar really would have in real life. So it's clearly like a fake prop kind of thing, and you can see it kind of bounce on the sand rather than thud into the sand. So that is, I mean, the practical effects still good. Like the whole effects, maybe I'd give it 7 out of 10. And then there's this. I wasn't even paying attention to the movie because, as I said, I was like in the beginning because I was falling asleep. But there's an opening scene where Brandon Frasier's character is being hung, and he nearly strangled to death when they were filming that. So that's kind of crazy. Like, imagine that's probably one of the worst moments of your life, right? And it's also in the biggest successes of your career. And I don't know if they kept that shot or not, but I didn't really notice that he was particularly more uncomfortable than he should have been because he was acting. But yeah, that's kind of crazy. Um, then, and you gotta remember also around the time, this was around the same time that Brendan Lee was killed when making the movie The Crow. So it wasn't, you know, safety of actors sometimes back then and now, unfortunately, is not paramount for productions because it's like they're creating a company each time you make a movie, and companies work because they have, collective experience and institutional experience. One other thing that I want to say about the movie before I finish the review is that another reason that they don't make movies like this anymore is because this movie was permitted to take a long time to develop. They originally wanted to make a remake of the 30s film in 1980, I believe, and they got to go ahead and they wrote a script, and then people were like, oh, no, this is not what we want. And they went through like 5 or 6 different scripts, and they gave it time. And I think like it's weird because film studios spend so much money on movies, but they don't spend the money where it should be. I think they spend it on promotion, or they spend it on visual effects, but they don't spend it on the actual scripts anymore. So yeah, I would say, I don't know. I don't think it's the best film ever, but it's certainly an enjoyable movie. I'd give it like 7 out of 10. And if you have seen it, I don't imagine there's anyone who hasn't seen this film. But if you haven't seen it, go watch it. Tell me what you think. If you've seen it, let me know your thoughts in the comment section down below. If you like what I do, please subscribe. I'm trying to get to 500 subscribers by the end of March, and we have currently 370 5 subscribers on YouTube. If you're listening on Spotify or any other, Spotify. If you're listening on Spotify, please give me a follow on Spotify. Thank you. Oh, sorry. Bye bye.